You think you know what a tyrannosaur sounds like? You are wrong. In the Arctic Circle, there was a tyrannosaur with a roar that would freeze your blood. Meet the Nanuqsaurus, the most terrifying relative of the T-Rex. It was not bigger, but it was far more ruthless. It lived in the Arctic Circle at -40 degrees. You might think it would freeze to death, but 70 million years ago, the Arctic was its ultimate hunting ground. For half the year, there was no sun, and the temperature could freeze your lungs. But in this hellish wasteland, this specific group of tyrannosaurs evolved night vision. Its eyes were significantly larger than a standard T-Rex. In complete darkness, it could clearly see prey from 5 kilometers away. But what makes your scalp tingle is its metabolism. It was 3 times faster than normal. It had to constantly slaughter just to survive the freezing cold. Scientists calculated that an adult Nanuqsaurus needed to eat 50 kilograms of meat every single day. This meant that in the eternal night of the Arctic, a bloody massacre occurred every few hours, and those victims never even saw the sun one last time. But did you know this monster was almost completely missed by humanity? In the summer of 2006, paleontologists dug up a strange fossil in the Alaskan wasteland. Nobody knew what it was, so they packed the entire block and shipped it thousands of kilometers away to Texas. It sat there for 8 years. For 8 whole years, this rock lay in a museum warehouse, completely untouched, until one day, a bored technician decided to run it through a CT scanner. The entire team went crazy. The skull structure on the screen was unlike any known tyrannosaur. The eye sockets were larger, the skull was wider, and there were 5 bizarre bone tumors lined up on its snout. This was a brand new species of tyrannosaur. In 2014, it finally got its name, Nanuqsaurus. In the Inuit language, this means polar bear lizard. Scientists realized that 70 million years ago in the Arctic Circle, this beast was doing the exact same job as today's polar bears, hunting. But there was one question that baffled everyone. The Nanuqsaurus was only 5 meters long and weighed 500 kilograms, making it less than half the size of a T-Rex. Why would the Tyrannosaur family produce such a dwarf? The answer was hidden in the dirt beneath its feet. 70 million years ago, Alaska was in the Arctic Circle, just like today. However, the Earth was much warmer then. Even so, winter temperatures would drop below freezing, followed by a seemingly endless polar night. Plant growth was agonizingly slow, causing severe food shortages. Massive dinosaurs simply could not survive in this environment because the bigger you are, the more food you need. So, the Nanuqsaurus evolved a brilliant strategy. It shrank itself. You might ask, how could it compete with other dinosaurs? Do not worry. Even though it was small, it had a unique set of survival rules. First, its prey was not massive either. Sharing the Alaskan landscape were the Edmontosaurus, the Pachyrhinosaurus, and various small theropods. Before winter arrived, these animals would migrate south, but the Nanuqsaurus stayed behind. It guarded its territory and waited for the old, weak, and sick who could not make the journey. This was its hunting strategy. Never fight a healthy opponent, only pick on the weak. Furthermore, the Nanuqsaurus likely evolved a special ultimate weapon: feathers. Scientists speculate it was covered in a thick layer of feathers to retain body heat. While there is no direct fossil evidence yet, looking at its extreme environment, this is almost a certainty. Imagine the scene. It is the polar night in Alaska. A feathered tyrannosaur is stalking through the ice and snow. Its large eyes glimmer faintly in the dark, locking onto an injured Edmontosaurus in the distance. There is no sound, no warning. Only a sudden burst of extreme speed. The hind legs of the Nanuqsaurus were incredibly muscular. Though its arms were short, its bite force was devastating. With one bite, the prey's neck would instantly snap. But that is still not the most bizarre part. When scientists studied its skull, they found a strange detail. Its nasal cavity was enormous and featured large air-filled zones. This meant its sense of smell was terrifyingly powerful. In the pitch-black polar night, even great vision has its limits. But a sense of smell is different. The Nanuqsaurus could smell blood from 5 kilometers away and track scent trails left by its prey. It could even tell which Edmontosaurus was injured or which Pachyrhinosaurus was sick. This made it the most efficient killing machine in the Arctic Circle. The dinosaurs that managed to escape a Nanuqsaurus faced another brutal problem. They never knew when it would strike. Its hunting patterns were completely different from a T-Rex. A T-Rex preferred hunting during the day, crushing prey with sight and raw power. But the Nanuqsaurus could not do that because there was no daylight in the Arctic winter. So it became fully nocturnal. When other dinosaurs were sleeping, the Nanuqsaurus went to work. It approached silently, using the darkness and freezing cold to strip its prey of any ability to fight back. Scientists ran simulations. If an Edmontosaurus was attacked in its sleep, the entire process, from the bite to the neck to absolute death, took less than 30 seconds. But here is the truly terrifying part. The Nanuqsaurus might have been a pack hunter. In the Prince Creek Formation, where the fossils were found, scientists discovered more clues. They found teeth from multiple Nanuqsaurus individuals of varying ages, along with postcranial bones. This strongly suggests there was more than just one Nanuqsaurus operating in that area. If true, Arctic dinosaurs were not facing a single hunter. They were facing an organized assassination squad. Imagine several Nanuqsaurus surrounding a herd of Pachyrhinosaurus in the dead of the polar night. They coordinated perfectly. Some drove the herd, some blocked their escape, and others delivered the final, fatal bite. This coordinated strategy meant the Nanuqsaurus had almost zero rivals at the top of the food chain, but the good times did not last. 70 million years ago, the climate in Alaska began to shift. Winters grew colder, and food became increasingly scarce. The migrating herbivores changed their routes, completely bypassing the Nanuqsaurus's territory. The predators began to starve. Some chose to migrate south to find warmer climates and more food. But they quickly realized the South was already controlled by other tyrannosaurs, like the Albertosaurus and Gorgosaurus. These giants were not going to let an outsider steal their meals. The Nanuqsaurus could not fight them because the size difference was just too massive. Ultimately, most of the Nanuqsaurus that migrated south died from sheer competition. The ones that stayed in the Arctic fared no better. With food vanishing and prey becoming critically scarce, their population plummeted. 68 million years ago, just 3 million years after they first appeared, they vanished entirely. There was no grand struggle, no fight for survival. They simply faded away into the silent snow. But the story of the Nanuqsaurus does not end there. In 2024, scientists made a groundbreaking new discovery while re-examining the fossils. They realized the fossils they thought belonged to an adult might have just been a juvenile. Larger teeth and bone fragments suggest that a fully grown Nanuqsaurus could have actually reached 7 meters in length, roughly the same size as an Albertosaurus. What does this mean? It means the Nanuqsaurus might not have been a dwarf tyrannosaur after all, but a full-sized standard member of the tyrannosaur family. It was only misunderstood because the first fossil we ever found just happened to be a young teenager. If this new theory holds true, the entire story has to be rewritten. 70 million years ago, the Arctic Circle was not some weakened, miniature kingdom of tyrannosaurs. It was a true, brutal, frozen hell entirely ruled by massive, bloodthirsty predators.